That Great Business Show. Winner, highly commended award. Irish Podcast Awards.
Welcome to episode 173 of That Great Business Show, home of great business tips, insights and opportunities on every episode delivered in our commute-friendly package. And it's all thanks to De Facto Shaving Oil, the world's best shaving oil, not a beard oil, a shaving oil. A couple of drops onto a wet face and you're sorted. Made in Ireland, sold worldwide. defactoshave.com.
That Great Business Show.
De Facto, the revolutionary shaving oil, changing the face of shaving. For the smoothest shave of your life, just add water. No more lathering up or cleaning up afterward. Just add a few drops of water and you're ready to go. De Facto's blend of all natural oils hydrates and protects your skin. No more razor burns or irritation. A spa treatment for your face. Perfect for all skin types and lasts so much longer than traditional foams or gels. De Facto, a shaving revolution. Just add water. Available from selected pharmacies and from defactoshave.com.
Coming up, 3 Irish women based in different countries selling their high-end women's health supplement to the world, developed solely with the female in mind, because women are not small men, is what they say. And I love that phrase. And continuing our Beachhead USA mini-series, the ultimate crib sheet for expanding into the US market, a young Cork man based in New York who based his business on buying Liverpool football match tickets. As usual, we have all kinds of businesses on That Great Business Show. Now, take 3 women, an international banker, a senior counsel, and a worldwide brand marketer. What have they got in common? Well, they couldn't find a health supplement that addressed their needs. What did they do about it? They created their own, and it's called Sisterly. Jenny O'Connell is the senior counsel based in Dublin, but who did spend 2 years working in New York. Aoife Matthews is a former investment banker who gave it all up for rock and roll or nutrition because she retrained as a nutritionist. And from Los Angeles, California, Louise O'Riordan, a marketer to luxury brands. We waited quite some months to get all 3 in studio, and so we are delighted to welcome Jenny, Aoife, Agus, Louise to That Great Business Show. You're all very, very welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Are you all mad? You've given up proper jobs. Jenny, you know what I'm saying is you had a proper job. You were a senior counsel and now you are starting off. I'm telling you, it's tough. You are going to try to make the world make the female world take your supplements.
I know, you don't have to tell me that it's tough. I think we know that now. We've been at this 3 years, and that, we came together 3 years ago during the pandemic. And, at that time we were discussing between ourselves, what should we be taking to deal with our health and wellness and our immunity. And this journey began back then, and it's been 3 very busy years since then. So I think we kind of know what we're letting ourselves in for.
And you said, because that's what you say, both on your deck and on your advertising, is that there was nothing quite like this. I mean, come on. Surely, somewhere, Gwyneth Paltrow probably has created something that you could have taken.
Yeah, I mean, I'm aware of kind of the Goop products, and they kind of come in a nice sachet. But what's in the sachet is a ton of tablets. So there's kind of all these pills that you're meant to take every day. And it was something that Louise and I had in common. We hate taking pills and capsules. We find that quite hard going every morning. It's fine when you're sick. But when you're not sick and you're just trying to maintain a really good habit, that's hard going. So we were looking for something really clean and palatable and easy to take every day, and something that was going to make us feel better. So there wasn't a lot out there that was going to meet our needs. We were looking kind of for the best of the best, and it just wasn't there.
Aoife, you're the nutritionist. Surely, if I eat my 5 a day, if I have my bananas or whatever else, it's as good as.
I would love that to be the case, trust me. Unfortunately, it's not. The quality of the food that we eat today is not as it was before. The land, the soil is overprocessed. You're not getting the nutrients that you used to get. And then if you look at the food that we're actually eating, I learned this myself in my training, that the orange that's sitting there in your fruit bowl for 2 weeks has probably come from, Seville, and it took a week to get there. And 3 weeks, later, when you're eating it, you're not getting the vitamin C that you would be getting if it was plucked off the tree in your garden. So no matter how hard we try, you just unfortunately don't get what you need. So, yes, we're selling a supplement, but we say, number 1 is your diet, number 2 is your lifestyle, And unfortunately, though, there are those gaps in the nutrients, and hence why we actually need a supplement like the Elevator.
And Louise, you are the marketer or marketeer, because I still haven't figured that one out. And you have worked with big well-known brands. So you know your way around brands.
Yeah.
To establish a brand, I remember a long time ago, Tony O'Reilly talking about establishing Kerrygold, and it cost 50 million old pounds. So what are you thinking now?
Well, again, we wanted to be, there may be some brands focusing on different stages of women's health, but really when we were discussing it amongst ourselves and what we would like to see in the market, we wanted to become that trusted brand that followed a woman's journey through every stage and age. So when we look at the Elevator, this convenient daily sachet, we wanted that to be our foundational product that could be taken from the age of 18 right through to 100. I mean, I have my mum on it now and all our friends.
And she's nowhere near 100. Jeez, don't go there.
She's nowhere near 100. Sorry, Mum. And then so you start off with that mission. What does your brand want to emanate? And for us, it was to be there every stage and age for a woman's lifetime. And then you get into the look and the feel and the voice of that brand. And we put on our box that this brand is for our mothers, our sisters, our friends, and ourselves, not only to keep us accountable, but that is our North Star that informs every decision, whether it be how we formulate, where we get our ingredients from, and how we storytell different case studies. And so then it comes to the look and feel. We wanted it to be very non-invasive. We didn't want an eyesore.
Plain package is what I saw.
Well, okay, that's one way of putting it. I love it, plain. But a lot of thought goes into making it plain because we didn't want it to be an eyesore. Everything had to accommodate a healthy new habit. And with the best will in the world, you need help forming a habit. It needs to be, or at least we give everyone the tip to keep it in eyesight. So if this is going to live on your kitchen counter, it needs to blend in with most kitchens. And so going for a minimalist design and having it be a sachet that can go with you. A lot of our customers are busy women. A lot of people are traveling a lot. So having that daily sachet that you can put in your bag is
When you go through customs and it's a white powder, I'll tell you, there might be more questions being asked. There were two really, really curious things that I came across on your pitch deck. Women were only included in clinical trials from 1993. Now, onwards. When I saw that, I didn't believe it, to be very honest.
I know.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
Now, when you say we're not included in clinical trials, for what?
So all of your medication, so you know your pharmaceuticals, when they're being tested on sections of the population, women were deliberately excluded from those clinical trials because our menstrual cycle makes the results apparently unreliable. So half the population was excluded.
52%. I can never get over men and our attitude about how nuts
It's special.
No, Conor, it's something
half
else.
the population of the world.
Yeah.
It's like 4-odd billion people.
You know, we had a really interesting experience. So we launched on the 19th of September and we had an incredibly high-powered panel of female health experts speaking to kind of the press at that event. And Dr. Lisa Ryan of the Atlantic Technological University was present. And I'd say, now guessing her age, Dr. Lisa Ryan's in probably her mid-40s, I'd say, early to mid-40s. And
She's nowhere near 100.
Yeah, she's nowhere near 100. But she was there speaking of how when she was doing clinical research in Australia during her training, so that would have been in about her 20s, I would say, she was telling us all, you know, how she was specifically told by her supervisors that women were to be left out of clinical trials. And hearing that from the horse's mouth, you know, a young woman who was describing that in her training, and she was querying that with her supervisors saying, well, wait a minute, hang on, we're leaving women out of this. And they were like, yeah, no, you can't put them in because, I mean, nobody understands their hormonal cycle and it wrecks the results. That is mind-blowing.
It is utterly mind-blowing. It's nuts. Absolutely K-N-U-T-Z.
But to be honest, Conor, that is the thing that's probably most fascinating about this whole journey of Sisterly. And it's probably the thing that gets us most riled up and most excited because there is such a knowledge gap in terms of what the general population understand about how clinical research is done and how, you know, the female physiology has been excluded from the narrative and from the analysis because it's just seen as a bit inconvenient.
And conveniently, you mentioned the female anatomy model, only created in 2022. Honestly.
So that was the first 3D female anatomical model.
When I saw that on the deck, I said, no, there's something wrong here. Maybe if they left out a word or something. 2022. That's nuts.
It's absolutely nuts. It's shocking. And the more you delve into it, and that was one of the things that I started discovering when I was doing my training, it's appalling. And many people don't realise that. That the females were just left behind. And as Jenny referred to, a lot of the drugs that we take, or the medicine that we take today, was tested on the male body and then just maybe reduced in size for the female body.
Because what did you say? We're you're little men.
Little men.
Women are not.
So
that's really interesting, right? So there's a lady called Dr. Stacey Sims, and that line is taken from her book Roar, that women are not small men. And it's so interesting now that they're finally putting the resources behind this and doing the research on it, what they've been able to identify about the differences between men and women, because it's always been assumed we were like, shrink it and pink it, that'll do for the girls, that'll be grand. And now they've realised, so again, Dr. Lisa Ryan at our launch was describing how cardiac symptoms are totally different in women than they are in men. So, the way in a movie people are clutching their chest when they're having a heart attack, women don't experience the symptoms before a heart attack in that way. They experience gastrointestinal issues. So somebody who's saying they're feeling crampy may be about to experience a heart attack, but women don't get diagnosed properly because everybody's waiting for them to clutch their heart and fall or clutch their arm and fall to the floor. So, and again, concussion syndrome in women is completely different, but all the concussion protocols are built around men. So just trying to, distinguish the two is really what Sisterly is all about. We're kind of saying, listen, let's focus on the female physiology. Let's tailor products specifically for women. And let's therefore make a better solution.
And you have said that you've been at it for 3 years, and you now know, because I didn't see it on the deck, is the total addressable market, the TAM. How big is it? Is it vast?
It's vast. I mean, if you look at the overall market for supplements, it's around 200 billion. For women at the moment, it's around 50 billion and growing at a CAC of around 7%.
And we won't beat around the bush on this one. You are, as in the Sisterly is being deliberately targeted top end. It's €90 a month or something, is it 95?
We didn't go to actually target the top end. What we wanted to do was create the best product, the most effective product. A lot of people don't realise that there's multiple different forms of each nutrient. So you have magnesium, you have loads of different forms of magnesium. Same with folate or folic acid. You have synthetic and you have the other more natural forms. So what we focused on was the best quality, so i.e. the one that actually works in the body. So it's the most natural form. So the body, it's called bioavailability. The body recognizes it and assumes it takes it in as a nutrient. So you feel the benefits. So unfortunately, obviously the most natural, it's like buying your organic food, your organic lovely beef steak or your kind of more processed, kind of tinned, canned meat. Often the better ingredients are actually the more expensive ones. So we focused on the formulation and the ingredients for the best product, and we ended up where we were.
So, again, maybe going back into your potential competitors, there must be some of the big brand names out there doing something similar, are there not?
Well, again, to the point of when you're formulating it specific for the female physiology, you're knocking out a lot of competition immediately. And then it's our job to do that educational piece. Certainly in the States, in LA, you have a front row seat to the mundane to the ridiculous. But people certainly are informed on the benefits of supplementation. But in some ways, it nearly goes too far. They're been bombarded through not just friends' tips and media telling them what to take, etc. But when I speak to a lot of friends over there, since starting this journey, I've gone into friends who are all, smart women doing great things. And I'll say, okay, can you open up your supplement drawer to me and just, we have these confessions and they're almost embarrassed to show me how many supplements they're taking, and they almost forget why they're taking what, and they've got their storage facility there to map them all out for the week. And some even have gone so far as to do their own research of the natural food source, how much they should be taking. Anyway, bottom line is when you add up this shelf full of supplements that they end up taking, that can all be replaced by the elevator in most cases. Price doesn't even come into it. We're actually a smarter way to supplement. Now, we've done this actually with a lot of customers here. We'll offer, or we have offered, our doctor to do, or one of our doctors to do an audit on people's existing supplement routine. And it's fascinating when our doctor will say, okay, thank you for sharing what you're taking, but this is synthetic. This, this, and this are already covered in the elevator. So in a lot of cases, we've replaced 7 to 15 capsules for people. So that makes your morning routine a lot simpler and more convenient.
It's probably just worth noting that Dr. Daniel Jones, who is our scientific expert and the formulator of the elevator, he uses the line that, this is the first, he's worked for many brands. And
Revive Active being one of them, was that it?
That's one of them, yeah, exactly. And he's created phenomenal product and award-winning products, and he's absolutely brilliant. But he says this was the first time he was actually given carte blanche to kind of start the formula and create the best formula. Most other companies will focus on the bottom line and say, right, this is our sales price, make me a product for that. Whereas we said, no, we just want the best product to treat X, Y, and Z, which is what our customers are asking for. And so it's a very different approach to the majority of the industry.
But you are a business and you do have to make a profit. But before you get to a profit, you have to raise some money. And if we don't get onto that, we'll be out of time. So you better start telling me, who do you want, where do you want, how much do you want, what are you going to do with it? Jenny.
So at this point, we're a HPSU, a high potential startup with Enterprise Ireland. And we've fantastic DA, Damien McCartney, who's been supporting us on the journey.
Okay. And did you, Aoife, come back on the return to work, is that?
Yeah, I was part of the Back for Business programme.
Paul Fitzsimons, who's one of our great heroes.
So I was based in Madrid at the time. So a true international brand with, Dublin, LA and Madrid. So, yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted there.
No, and so we did a small friends and family round initially and got match funding from Enterprise Ireland. And now we are launched obviously here, and we're retail partners with Mars Pharmacies, Brown Thomas and
Una, who's another pal of ours, Una O'Hagan.
Una's amazing.
She's great.
Una's been with us actually from the very beginning, because when we were making our application to HPSU, we had to kind of have a supporter from the retail sector to say there would be demand and there was a market for this. So Una has been there from the very beginning, and she's wonderful, and she's had us, helped us to explain the product and what it's about to the public. So that's been great. And now our next stage is in February of this year. We already have sales in the UK and fulfillment and everything when we're launched there, but we're doing launch events with our female health experts in the UK in February. And then in March, we're launching with Whole Foods, which is very exciting.
Whole Foods in the US?
Whole Foods in the UK. So This is part of our UK outreach, and we're really delighted about that partnership because it's a really tricky thing to get into Whole Foods. They are very specific about who they will onboard because they have a whole set of rules around, the ingredients and the way you produce, and it's a real quality mark to
it is. And Louise, it's also very expensive. You don't go shopping there without a credit, without a gold credit card.
But what we love about Whole Foods is they have all their nutritionists who are their staff, who are like nutritional therapists trained to tell the consumer about the differences between different products. So it's a great positioning for us. And then after that, so this is what our next raise is going to be for, is to test, trial and test different things to pull the levers on the markets that we're established in, but more importantly, to go to the States. Because just as Louise was describing there about the multiple products that people in the States are taking, I don't think that they see supplementation as a should I, shouldn't I? They recognise that given the food chain that they need to supplement. So it's a primed market. Their average spend on supplementation is multiples of what we in Ireland or the UK will spend. And this being a product that's been developed in Europe to the very rigorous standards of EFSA, this is a much more appealing proposition.
Do you have to go through FDA to get to approval there?
We're planning to manufacture in the US, and the regime in the US is unusual in that it's, the FDA, you register with the FDA with the product, but then it's, in terms of that's why I think Louise referenced, the kind of the wild, the ridiculous that can happen in the States in terms of how people market and claim. That's not allowed in Europe. Yeah. So we want to keep within the tramlines of what is allowed over here, because that really is a quality mark for any discerning US customer.
To get to the States, how much do you need, and who are you looking for to give you that cash?
So we already have quite a number of people just by virtue of the success we've achieved to date who are interested in investing. We're really keen to encourage female investors into this business, because even when we were pitching what Sisterly was all about, you just know it lands with women. They understand the convenience, they understand the proposition, they understand the need.
And when you start seeing this stuff about these trials never having been done, you just kind of say, no, come on, lads.
No, we had a really interesting, with a wonderful woman called Jacqueline O'Donovan, OBE, who finds the project really important and worthwhile. And she's been somebody we have created a strong relationship. And she hosted a breakfast for us in London. And we were speaking to this piece of the lack of female investment to a room full of incredibly intelligent, high-powered women. And you could just feel the energy and the outrage of people just going, this is crazy, you know? And what we feel, and I mean, you know, the way you talk about other brands that are, you know, focused on the female, we don't see ourselves actually in competition with them. We see that this is such a wide open space that needs as many people as possible participating in it. And we're really collaborating with other female-led brands because we understand that kind of women in business work slightly differently than, you know, men in business. They collaborate actually incredibly well. Even like a team of 3, we reference each other on all decisions. And it may mean sometimes that it takes longer to arrive at a decision, but I think in general, we would all agree that it's a better decision as a result of the collaborative piece. So it's to bring that kind of female energy into the business. Like we think that that's going to be an important part of fundraising, but that's not to say that we don't appreciate the male as well. So it's just to bring...
Appreciate money. Just to appreciate money.
Yeah.
Okay. So if anybody wants to give you money, where or how should they get onto you? Through the website or?
Yeah, hello@sisterlylab.com.
Okay. I keep telling people, I hate responding to an info at or a hello at. I never believe anybody's at the other end. Even if they call it Irish.
We are. The 3 of us.
Most importantly, Aoife is.
I'm there.
Okay. Listen, we will run out of time, but you do know, because I've warned you all, that there is one final question we ask each and everybody. So, Louise, I'm going to start with you. Louise, who would you hire in a heartbeat?
In a heartbeat, I would love to hire Kurt Sadasticker. I've probably mispronounced his
People
name.
say these things, and then I have to go and look them up and find the spelling.
Let me tell you why. And so he's founded Vital Proteins, which is a collagen supplement, and he really created that whole category himself. He was a runner, and so I resonated with the fact he built this product for himself, similar to how we did. Prior to being in the supplement space, he was a aerospace engineer, so he had that problem-solving mind. But predominantly, we would hire him because he's an e-commerce expert, a serial entrepreneur, and the way he built Vital Proteins was very authentic. He was brand forward rather than retail forward, which is what we want to be. We're direct to consumer, which gives us a direct line to our consumers and their wants.
And I hope you've discussed it with the other two, have you?
Yeah, no, look, the chances of getting him now.
I would say Dr. Lisa Mosconi. She's a neuroscientist, and she is at the forefront of female health and has done amazing scientific research showing the difference, particularly focusing on the brain, how the male brain and the female brain are different. And as we go through our life stages, particularly through menopause, the female brain changes and transforms. And this is the first time that this has actually been proven scientifically. And she's written a number of books, but The XX Brain is a book I would highly recommend. You don't have to be a neuroscientist to read it. She's very good at, writing for so the world. Everyone can understand, but her work is phenomenal, and I think she's doing great things for female health.
Did you know, because I happen to do, is that the male brain doesn't actually, the front lobe doesn't close over until about 28 or something like that, which proves, in fact, I think, listening to what you were saying earlier about the lack of research and stuff, maybe the male brain never closes over. We never grow up.
Well, you said it yourself.
I did say it myself. Jenny, final call to you. Who would you hire in a heartbeat?
Okay, it would be Sharon Horgan.
Oh, yeah.
So the reason I would want to sign up Sharon Horgan, well, she is a brilliant storyteller, and she's incredibly straight talking, and she kind of creates communities around her. So one of the things that we've been doing with Sisterly is we've been doing these Sisterly sea swims down at the 40 foot. And it reminds us of Sharon all the time. And it's this kind of like whole idea of what sisterly means. It's kind of, supporting, being straight talking, giving you the straight answers when you need them. And I think Sharon would just be such a phenomenal storyteller for us and bring our community together.
She's a little bit busy at the moment, but
I don't watch this space.
That is fantastic. Listen, great story. Hello@sisterlylab.com.
.com
will get them. And I would just check out the market. It sounds fascinating. And I wish you all success. When, not if, when you raise your cash, when you move to the States, come back on. Tony Sheridan in Connecticut will look after you there. We keep telling people, in fact, I think the governor of Connecticut may be coming over in the next couple of months as well. So we can introduce you to him as well. And to maybe his wife, who is a very successful VC in her own right and who does invest in women's businesses and women's health in a big way. So
thank
we'll
you.
make the intro.
And Conor, one other thing is that if you're interested in these statistics about female health and how shocking they are, on our Instagram, which is Sisterly Lab, you'll find that we are posting regularly, and I have to go back and fact check them going, that can't be right. But I mean, it is, there's more amazing stuff on there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Men. Oh, well, listen, thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Thank you, Conor.
Thank you.
It's all go, let Cursey know on thatgreatbusinessshow.com. That Great Business Show.
De facto, the revolutionary shaving oil, changing the face of shaving. For the smoothest shave of your life, just add water. No more lathering up or cleaning up afterward. Just add a few drops of water and you're ready to go. De facto's blend of all natural oils hydrates and protects your skin. No more razor burns or irritation. A spa treatment for your face. Perfect for all skin types and lasts so much longer than traditional foams or gels. De facto, a shaving revolution. Just add water. Available from selected pharmacies and from defactoshave.com.
That Great Business Show. Winner, highly commended award. Irish Podcast Awards.
That Great Business Show is on a journey. We headed to the US of A to record a mini-series we called Beachhead USA. As you know, we bring you tips, insights, and opportunities on every episode. And continuing that mission, we're talking to business people, Irish, Irish-American, American, about the trials and tribulations of setting up an American unit for your scaling Irish enterprise. Trustap is a digital transaction platform that says it completely protects you from being scammed when transacting with someone you don't know. Now, what business would say no to that? They're already in something like 150 countries, and I'm sure the majority of you are not familiar with the business success, and that is why we're here in New York City to talk to founder Conor Lyden. Conor Lyden, welcome to That Great Business Show.
Thanks very much. Great to be here.
Overnight success, you are. Everybody else says, oh no, it took me 100 years. You're a bloody overnight success.
I wouldn't say that. I think...
you wouldn't, everybody else would.
No, it's been a few years, all right. It's been a few years in the making.
Straight out of college with a big idea. Where did the big idea come from?
Well, how it originally came about was I was doing my engineering degree in UCC, and I was travelling over and back to watch Liverpool football matches in the UK. So big Liverpool fan, would do my best to get over a couple of times a year where possible. I didn't have a season ticket or anything like that. So when I was trying to, I'd book my flights, I'd have my accommodation sorted, and I'd be trying to get a ticket for the game on the likes of Dundee or Facebook or Craigslist or any of these marketplaces. And I'd find someone selling it and they would always say to me, you send me the money and I'll post you the ticket afterwards. And I was never very comfortable doing that for obvious reasons. And I thought there must be a better way of doing this. And around that time, I spent a number of J1s here in the US.
You're only meant to have one,
Yeah, I know. I did a couple. I exhausted the visa. I was in Newport in Rhode Island and teaching sailing there, which was an unbelievable experience for those few months every year. But in my group of friends, I was always the one who would have to organise the accommodation. So it always got left for me to do it. And I would have used escrow companies to rent the properties. And I was always fascinated by, here's this entity that holds money on behalf of two other parties. And, why can't that be applied to me when I'm buying my tickets? And when I looked into it, I realized that, escrow traditionally anyway is very document heavy, highly regulated, only really suitable if you're buying a house or something like that, because it's...
Age at this stage?
Me, probably 20, 21.
It's the kind of thing a 20-year-old thinks about all right, isn't it?
No, you don't
have to mention you are an engineer. That's right.
Yeah, maybe that's why I wasn't thinking about other normal things. But I always thought, if you could just find a way of combining that concept with and making it suitable for everyday transactions, there'd be an opportunity there. So it just started as a purely selfish expedition to solve my own problem of buying tickets. And I didn't really have a plan beyond that. It was like, I'm going to sort this thing out, and then realized that there were broader applications elsewhere, I suppose. So that's how it started.
And then the next step?
Then you think, okay, we have actually what happened was I was graduating from engineering and I didn't want to do that, didn't really want to go into that industry, or not yet anyway. So I decided, I always kind of had a desire to be involved in business for lots of reasons. So I thought maybe, people in my class were going on to grad programs in the Big Four, like Accenture or whatever. And I had a position lined up to go and start in Accenture in the following September. And at that time, I was because I knew I didn't want to do the engineering in UCC, I was doing electives and modules that were business orientated where possible. And I remember a speaker came in one of the last classes, and they spoke about this program in UCC called the Ignite program, where you could basically go in with a business idea and it would work you through the different phases of starting a business and what to do. And I thought that's pretty interesting. So I applied for that over the summer and kind of had the two options then of which to do. And I kind of thought, maybe if I do the grad program for a couple of years, get a bit of money, I can go back and do that. But I decided to do the Ignite program with this, just the concept, nothing else.
What tipped you one way or the other?
I think it was speaking to people like around, and before that, I would say that like there weren't many people who were, I guess, in Ireland anyway, the entrepreneurial path or doing something for yourself wasn't really very common. People would normally say, they'd be living at home. The parents say, go out and get a job there now and go and, find somewhere to live. So I was very fortunate that, my parents were willing to put up with me for another few years. But yeah, I always thought, why not try it? What's the worst that'll happen? Someone gave me some great advice that if it didn't work out, but I, did it for a year or two, that the CV and the experience along the way would probably be more valuable anyway than doing the grad program in the first place. So that was always my kind of justification for doing it anyway. So that was, I guess went on to Ignite program, realized, and it wasn't one of those situations where you hear of startups where they are able to just raise loads of money and off they go. It was very much an iterative process. It was kind of like, okay, you have organizations and resources available to you, like the local enterprise office, and there are grants available, but you need to get to a certain level. So I'd be quite diligent about going into the local enterprise office and saying, okay, what do I need to get this grant? And they'd say, you need to have a prototype, you need to have 100 users. And then I'd come back in a few months and say, here's the prototype and here's the 100 users. So can I have the grant now, please? And that's kind of how it worked at the start. And then, raised a little bit of private money and was able to kind of get a couple of developers together, and we built out a proper platform. But there were two problems at that point, I suppose. One was that, what we were building was a financial product at the end of the day, and you have to, you're ultimately telling people they can't trust each other, so they got to trust you at least in the middle, and unless it's up to scratch, it was going to be very difficult for people to use it. The other issue is that the concept I had, or to solve the problem I had, which was, this standalone app that people could use if they're buying stuff from other people to protect them, is fine, but it's not the type of product that people will use every day. So marketing it was really difficult, because you might see an ad for it on Twitter or something, and you might say, well, that's a good idea, but like, you don't need to use it now. So then when it does come around to you needing it, you probably won't remember or whatever. So we kind of thought, how do we catch people at the point where they do need it? And the natural place to look then was the marketplaces where they were finding each other and that were influencing all these transactions. So we kind of tweaked a few things, and then it became a product for marketplaces to become transactional. So, historically, it started with Craigslist 30 years ago. They were kind of the first classified marketplace. Before that, if you wanted to buy or sell something, you went to your newspaper, and the back of the newspaper would have the classified section, and you'd ring up somebody and say, I want to buy your bicycle, and you'd meet them and you'd cash, and that was it. Then Craigslist brought that online, and there were lots of businesses that kind of copied that model. But at that time, we were just fortunate that a lot of them wanted to become transactional. And what I mean by that is that they were able to let their users pay each other and ship the items and stuff on site. So before that, it was all a case of still you just reveal someone's email or contact number, give them a ring, meet them maybe in the Tesco car park back home, exchange cash, and off you go. And obviously lots of bad things can happen in that scenario as well. So we were just fortunate that they knew they were all leaving a lot of money on the table. They weren't making money from these transactions. They weren't getting any data. And we had a way to make them transactional out of the box. And that was kind of the pitch.
And when you say we had, I mean, you're talking about you had.
I had, and then we, I say we, because it's a team there now, but like even in the early days, there was myself and who's now our CTO, Sean Kelleher, and a couple of developers was kind of the team at that point.
And I know I shouldn't even ask this question because the answer is pretty obvious, but I often wonder, how come you had thought about this and nobody else in the world had thought about this? It's a bit like the wheel. Like somebody came up with it and somebody says, that's a bloody good idea.
Well, it's funny because it's funny you say that. I speak to people and, if I'm telling them what I'm doing, they go, oh yeah, I always thought, or I had that idea, but it is different actually doing it. And it is difficult as well, right? Like, I guess what we were doing was, so how the platform worked, or the basic principle anyway, is that we would have models built around certain types of transactions. So if you're buying a physical item that could be shipped, like a Rolex, for example, we will hold the buyer's money. They'll ship the Rolex through us. We'll see the product's journey in that as well. And when it's delivered and signed for, it'll start a dispute period and we'll release the money after that. So we kind of take the power away from the buyer and seller to kind of mess it up along the way and say, oh, I never got it, or this didn't happen, or whatever. Traditionally, you had payment companies and you had lots of ways to pay people. You could use Revolut, or here be Venmo, or bank transfers, or cash. And then you had ways to send stuff to people, like you could, use your post office or DPD or FedEx, but there was never really a combination or a middleman service that combined those two elements and made sure they both happened at the same time fairly safely. So that was the kind of difference, I suppose. And when you look at payments companies and you say, well, why couldn't they just, do this as well? It's a big change to their business model. It's a lot of extra hassle that they don't need if they already have decent market share. I can see why they wouldn't do it. And the same with the logistics companies. So it's kind of just plugging a gap in the middle.
And surely, now that they've seen that there is a business in it, one of those large corporations has already been on the phone to you to say, we could use that. We could maybe buy that.
Well, look, maybe someday. I think
there's a big fat smile on his face. I don't know what's going on, but no, I think his eyes are glistening.
Look, the way or at least history of acquisitions in the payment space and stuff would tell you that as soon as you get to a certain level, there won't be any shortage of suitors. But I think, you can't really engineer that either. You kind of, like, my strategy with all of that has been to try and grow the business as big as we can get it, and then someone comes along.
And part of that, and this is why we're chatting to you actually, is that you came to the Big Apple, to New York, to really go for it. Why did you choose here?
Couple of reasons, really. So initially, anyway, the vast majority of our revenue was coming from the US. So we had partners, that partner marketplaces and things like that in the US that were, the source of a lot of our transactions, and we didn't have anyone on the ground in the US or even working on that time zone. So that was part of it. And knowing that was where the market was, or there was a lot of upside still left in the US for us to try and grab. As well as that, like New York. So, the team is based in Ireland. We have an office in Zagreb and Croatia as well. So that kind of ruled out the West Coast, even though traditionally people would say Silicon Valley.
Because it's the time difference.
Time, just an extra 3 hours in terms of overlap with the time difference, but also an extra 5 hours on a plane if you're trying to go over and back. And like, it just wasn't really going to work. So then it was the East Coast, and you have options along the East Coast as well, but New York's by far the best, especially for anything involving financial services. And, it's still like underrated, I would say, as a startup city as well, in terms of the amount of investment activity, number of businesses, all of that. And the Irish connection. That was another big thing.
And you were kind of commuting, if I can call it that. But then you decided, no, I have to base
Well,
myself here.
I still am over and back. So yeah, I would still spend a decent amount of time back home, but it makes it so much more doable being here in New York and how easy it is. Like if everything lines up, you can be, it's only 5 and a bit hours on a flight, like, which is really nothing. So yeah, I do split my time, but I've been spending a good bit of time here because there is, it's the community in New York as well, especially for like both for startups, but also Irish people that have moved over here and are doing really well in different businesses is amazing to kind of tap into. And you can sometimes be a little bit in a bubble back in Ireland, in Cork, where I'm from, that there isn't as much of that, or you can't really see as many success stories and get inspired by all the different things that are happening. So it's cool to be based here and see all of that happening as well.
What were the big cultural differences the little bumps that you said, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that, or geez, that's one way to do business?
I think this is probably like a common one, that people would say is we are probably not, I don't know if confidence is the right word, but maybe we're a little bit too humble back home when we're telling our story. Like you could go to some events, some evening, and be in the elevator with a US founder, and by the time you get to the top floor or whatever, you'll think they're about to take over the world. They're so confident, and they might have nothing, but you will kind of, be left behind if you don't kind of adopt that attitude a little bit. And I remember, I kind of got in trouble a little bit, even going through customs one time, because the guy at the immigration said, what are you doing? And I kind of said, I kind of just have my own thing there. And that's the wrong answer to give to US immigration.
What should the answer be?
Oh, I'm a CEO of the company. We've this many people employed. And we're doing this many million. And they'd say, okay, sir, right through there, no problem. But I was kind of saying, I just have my own thing going there. And they said, follow me into the back room here. A few more questions for you. So yeah, I learned the hard way that I think you have to, be a little bit more confident. And if you want people to know what you're doing, you have to tell them. You can't just expect them to read between the lines. And one thing about the Americans that you can't fault is they're excellent communicators. You would never be in doubt how they feel or what they say after you've spoken to them. Yeah.
Is that an American thing or a New York thing? There is we've been discussing with a few people about abrupt does not mean rude. It's their manner, but they're telling you, look, I don't want you.
Yeah,
because they don't want you.
But definitely in New York, there's very little patience maybe over certain things. But so I haven't spent as much time in it everywhere else in the US. But I think I get that everywhere as well. Like they're very direct. They don't want to waste time, and yeah, they're straight to the point. So I think there's a lot to be said for that. I think like you could rub people up the wrong way back home by being like that sometimes, but sometimes it is appropriate.
Any other cultural bumps?
I think what was very interesting was from a sales perspective here as well. So back in Ireland, maybe there's a little bit of an attitude, and I'd be 100% guilty of this myself, of kind of not wanting to give someone the satisfaction if they cold call you, of, giving them a sale or helping them. There's almost a bit of begrudgery, like, that kind of thing. Whereas here they are very open to, this isn't for me, and they'll say it very directly, but you should talk to this person, and they'll do an introduction straight away. And they're kind of at least much more open to the pitch and like hearing what you're doing. And I think that was a really cool kind of welcome change as well. So they'd be probably the two things that stood out to me when I came over first. Yeah, obviously New York's a mad city, and there's it's a sheer volume of people, 9 million people in probably smaller area than Cork, but it's so, there's all those factors, but in terms of business, I would say they were the two.
And in terms of the Trustap's short, middle term growth, where will you be? You've made 150 countries now. Yeah,
so that was a really cool milestone that we ticked off a few weeks ago, which was we had a transaction basically from 150 different countries in the world. So the 150th
the last
country
one was a very strange place.
Yeah, French Polynesia. Yeah, which is strange. I actually had someone message me saying, I didn't go over there. No, this was just someone on a marketplace, and they were based in French Polynesia, and they used it. I actually had someone message me saying, I don't think French Polynesia is a country. So I maybe jumped the gun a bit. Maybe it's a territory of some sort, but we're counting it anyway. And we have, a couple more to go before we take them all off. But it's cool because, obviously you would never know from the start that, it would be used by 10 people, never mind, people all over the place. So it's a cool feeling. Yeah.
It's been a very pleasant feeling.
Yeah. Now,
big smile on your face.
Most of these countries, like we've only had a handful of transactions in. So the aim is to get tens of thousands in each of them. And then we'll be in a good spot.
When will you do that?
Well, it depends, I suppose, but we're growing all the time. In its case for us, so our route to market really is via existing marketplaces. So we still get a lot of organic traffic to our platform where people will want to use it for a one-off transaction. So the Rugby World Cup's on at the moment and people are buying and selling tickets. And that was it's interesting because that was the original idea, was tickets, even though it's kind of evolved from there, and like electric picnic. And you get these one-off events where you'll get a lot of traffic on the platform just for doing one transaction at a time. But really the volume comes from partnerships with marketplaces and kind of e-commerce businesses, and that's where you get most of it from. So we're trying to build out as many of those partnerships as we can. We've got a couple of really big marketplaces signed that are kind of integrating at the moment, and they should come on stream in the next few years. In the next few months, hopefully not years. And that's exciting. So that's kind of the focus really, because you could spend, what it boils down to is we could spend a lot on Google ads or social media ads to drive traffic to the site, but return on that, isn't always brilliant in our space because of the fact, you would necessarily need every. And so it's much more efficient for us to go to partner with a marketplace where they have tens of thousands of transactions every day happening, and you're just getting a piece of that basically.
And funding, are you funded?
Yeah, so we've, again, like, to get any kind of a success out of a startup, I think you have to be very lucky. And like part of what I'd be very fortunate, or feel fortunate or grateful, is that we have very good investors. So from the kind of early angels that are involved to we have 4 VCs on the cap table now as well. So
fabulous.
It's been an learning experience, obviously dealing with all of that. But yeah, very good and grateful that we've been kind of trusted and backed. We'll be.
Of course, Trustap had to be trusted.
True. That was the biggest challenge. As I said at the start, you kind of are telling people, don't worry, you don't have to trust each other. And then they kind of look at you and they go, why should we trust you? So the branding and the effort to kind of make ourselves, to prove to people that we can be trusted was part of the challenge.
Final question that we ask everybody is, who would you hire in a heartbeat?
So one of the biggest marketplace conglomerates, I suppose, in the world is a company called Advinta, and they just appointed a new CEO called Antoine Jotu. And I think I try and snipe him from his new role there and get him into Trustap and get his knowledge there, and hopefully a couple of the brands under his old management.
Antoine, you are hired. WhatsApp needs you. You're hired immediately. In fact, I was talking to, and I keep repeating this story, is one lady, Laura Lee Molson-Coors. They don't even look for CVs anymore. I don't think you want his CV.
No, I think he's done enough. We'll take him, yeah.
We'll take him, exactly. Lovely.
It's all go, let Cursey know on thatgreatbusinessshow.com.
That Great Business Show. De facto, the revolutionary shaving oil, changing the face of shaving. For the smoothest shave of your life, just add water. No more lathering up or cleaning up afterward. Just add a few drops of water and you're ready to go. De facto's blend of all natural oils hydrates and protects your skin. No more razor burns or irritation. A spa treatment for your face. Perfect for all skin types and lasts so much longer than traditional foams or gels. De facto, a shaving revolution. Just add water. Available from selected pharmacies and from defactoshave.com.
And that was Conor Lyden of Trustap, ending episode 173 of That Great Business Show. Great business insights and inspiration. All thanks to our lovely sponsor, De Facto Shaving Oil, the world's best shaving oil. I know, I've tried others, but it's the only one I use. Remember to sign up for email updates and we will send you your own personal copy of the podcast at thatgreatbusinessshow.com. Share and like, and please give us 5-star reviews. It really does help. Advertise with us on That Great Business Show to engage with our incredible audience of entrepreneurs, business owners, business wannabes, and investors. We record at the Dublin South Podcast Studios, where today's studio engineers, plural, are Lee Brennan and Alison O'Dwyer. Later, the dynamic duo of studio manager Peter Rice and post-production engineer Neil Horner ensure we remain the world's best-sounding business podcast. So from me, Conor Moran, buchas to you all agus slán tamil.